The silent birthday, the day began like any other, but for Keanu Reeves, it carried a quiet weight that no one else could see. It was his birthday, yet the world around him felt still, almost empty. The city outside moved on with its usual noise, but inside his small apartment, silence wrapped itself around him. He sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the faint light that crept through the curtains. He should have felt joy, or at least a spark of celebration, but instead, he felt something else, something heavier. He thought about the years gone by. So many memories of loss, love, and resilience flooded his heart. Birthdays had never been simple for him. They carried reminders of people he had lost, moments that could never return. And while the world often saw him as strong, kind, and almost unshakable, deep inside, he carried shadows that no one else could fully understand. He made himself a cup of black coffee, the steam rising in the still air. He didn't plan anything special. No parties, no gatherings. Just another day, he told himself. Maybe he would take a long walk later. Maybe stop by a bookstore. Maybe even watch a quiet film alone. He was used to solitude. He respected it. But on birthdays, solitude often turned into something sharper. Loneliness. And yet, as he sat there lost in thought, there was a part of him that wished someone would surprise him. Someone who wouldn't come with flashing cameras or staged gestures, but with real warmth. He didn't want luxury. He wanted something simple, something human. The morning stretched on. Hours passed. He answered a few polite messages on his phone, short wishes from distant friends, colleagues, people who cared but stayed at the surface. He appreciated them, but they didn't touch the hollow space inside him. By afternoon, the silence grew heavier. He sat by the window, watching. People walked by, couples laughing, families carrying balloons, children tugging at their parents' hands. The contrast hit him deeply. He smiled faintly, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Just when he thought the day would end, the same way it began, quiet, lonely, unremarkable, something unexpected happened. There was a knock on his door. He hesitated. Hardly anyone ever knocked on his door without notice. His life was guarded, private. He walked slowly, unsure. When he opened it, his breath caught for a moment. Standing there with a gentle smile and a small gift wrapped in plain paper was Ana de Armas. She looked at him with warmth, not like a co-star, not like someone from the industry, but like a friend who understood something deeper. "Happy birthday, Keanu," she said softly. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. The silence inside him cracked, and he felt a wave of emotion he hadn't expected. She stepped inside, carrying with her not just the gift, but a presence that lit the room brighter than the fading daylight. "I thought you might not want a big party," she said, placing the gift on the table. "But no one should spend their birthday alone." Keanu stood still, his heart tightening. It wasn't the gift that mattered. It was the thought, the kindness, the effort to see beyond the surface. For the first time that day, he felt the weight in his chest ease. This moment, simple yet powerful, was the beginning of a birthday he would never forget. The gift of silence, the knock at the door had already changed everything. Keanu never expected anyone to come, much less Ana de Armas. When she stepped into his quiet apartment, the energy shifted. The silence that had once felt heavy now carried a strange anticipation. It was as if the walls themselves leaned in, waiting to see what would happen next. Ana placed the small wrapped gift on the table, but she didn't rush him to open it. Instead, she looked around the room with soft curiosity. There was no glamour here, just a simple apartment, a few books stacked by the window, a single chair by the table, and a half-empty coffee cup. "You live like someone who carries too much in his heart," she said gently. Her words weren't judgmental, just observant. Keanu gave a faint smile. "Maybe I do. Or maybe I just like simplicity. But inside, her words struck him. Few people noticed the way he lived. Fewer still dared to say it aloud. Anna turned back. To him, her eyes steady. Sometimes simplicity is beautiful, but sometimes it hides pain. Those words hung in the air. He didn't answer. He couldn't. She wasn't wrong. The first hook of the moment wasn't her arrival. It was her ability to see through him. She motioned for him to sit. He pulled out the chair, and she sat across from him, folding her hands on the table. For a while, they didn't speak. The silence between them wasn't empty anymore. It was filled with meaning, like two people reading the same book without saying a word. Finally, she pushed the small gift toward him. "Open it," she said. He hesitated, then slowly unwrapped the plain paper. Inside was something simple. An old leather notebook. The kind that carried weight not because of its price, but because of the stories it could hold. "I thought you could write in it," she explained. "Your thoughts, your memories, even your sadness. Words can hold pain when nothing else can." Keanu stared at the notebook, his fingers brushing its surface. It wasn't the notebook itself. It was what it represented. Someone had thought of him. Someone had seen his quiet need without him saying a word. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice softer than he meant. Anna smiled, but her eyes grew serious. "Do you know why I came today?" He shook his head. "Because I know what it's like to feel alone on a day that should mean something. I know how heavy that silence can feel, and I didn't want you to carry it alone this time." Her words pierced him. It wasn't sympathy. It was empathy. She had felt it too. For the first time in years, Keanu felt seen. But then, like a sudden crack in the calm, came the second hook, the twist he didn't expect. Anna leaned back, her gaze shifting to the window. "Keanu, people think they know you. They see the kindness, the patience, the humility. But I know something else. I know you're still haunted by the ones you've lost. And if you keep burying it, one day it will break you." Her words cut deep, sharper than any birthday wish he had ever heard. He froze. How could she know? How could she say it out loud? The ghosts of his past, his tragedies, his heartbreaks, he had buried them under layers of silence. But she had uncovered them in a single sentence. The room grew heavier again, but this time, not with loneliness. This time, with the weight of truth. Keanu swallowed hard. "Why would you bring that up today?" His voice was low, steady, but fragile. Anna leaned forward, her eyes locked on his. "Because today is the day you need to hear it. Sometimes the only gift worth giving is honesty." And just like that, the atmosphere changed again. The birthday wasn't just about celebration anymore. It had become a mirror, forcing him to look at himself in ways he had avoided for years. He gripped the notebook tighter, as if it could shield him from the emotions rising inside. Anna didn't move, didn't soften her gaze. She waited, letting the silence force him to face it. And then came the third hook, the moment that twisted pain into something unexpected. Keanu, instead of breaking down, instead of pushing her away, whispered, "Maybe you're right. Maybe I have been hiding. But maybe this is the first time I don't want to hide anymore." Anna's expression softened. She reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "Then let this birthday be the start of something different. No more carrying it all alone." He looked at her hand on his, at the small notebook that now felt like a lifeline, and at the faint light slipping through the window. And for the first time that day, Keanu Reeves felt like his birthday was no longer just another reminder of loneliness. It had become a turning point. Shadows of the past, the night had settled quietly outside, but inside Keanu's apartment, the air was thick with unspoken feelings. The gift, the notebook, and Anna's piercing honesty still lingered in the room. Keanu sat with his elbows resting on the table, staring at the leather cover as if it could answer the questions in his heart. Anna watched him closely. She wasn't rushing him. She wasn't filling the silence with meaningless chatter. She let it breathe, let him wrestle with the weight of her words. This patience, this ability to sit in silence was what made her presence so different. She wasn't here to distract him. She was here to reach him. "You look like someone standing on the edge of something," she said finally. Keanu tilted his head, his eyes heavy but searching. "Maybe I am. But sometimes the edge feels safer than the fall." Her words had forced open doors in his heart he had kept locked for years. And now, standing at that doorway, he wasn't sure if he was ready to step through. First hook, the fragile opening Anna didn't push harder. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small photograph. It was creased at the edges, a little faded. She placed it on the table between them. "This was me," she said, "on my 16th birthday. I was sitting alone in a park. No one remembered. I thought the world had forgotten me." Keanu looked at the picture. Anna as a teenager, her smile, small, her eyes carrying a loneliness he instantly recognized. "But then," she continued softly, "an old woman who I had never met before sat beside me. She handed me a single rose," she said. "Birthdays are not about who remembers you, but about reminding yourself you are still here." She paused, letting the memory hang in the air. "That woman changed me. A stranger made me feel less invisible. That's why I came today. Because sometimes one person is all it takes." The story cut through Keanu's guarded heart. He saw himself in her words, in that loneliness, and he realized maybe today she had come to be for him what that stranger had once been for her. Second hook. The ghosts resurface, but with the warmth of her memory came another pull, his own ghosts rising from the shadows. He leaned back, his hand running across his face as images of his past flickered inside him. Losses he rarely spoke of, people he had loved and lost too soon, nights when the silence of the world felt unbearable, birthdays that came and went, leaving him emptier each year. "Anna," he said, his voice strained, "I've lost so much. Sometimes I feel like I've lived 100 lives, and every one of them carried a wound I couldn't heal." Anna leaned closer, her voice steady. "Then maybe those wounds are not meant to be hidden anymore. Maybe they are meant to be shared." Her words pressed against his defenses, shaking loose memories he had tried to bury. Third hook. The breaking point. Without warning, Keanu stood up. The room suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. He walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. "Sharing doesn't bring them back," he said quietly. "Talking doesn't erase the pain. It just reminds me." Anna didn't move. From the table, her calm presence was unshaken, but her eyes followed him carefully. "And hiding it? Does that heal you?" The question pierced him. He didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. For a long moment, the room was filled only with the hum of the city outside, the faint ticking of a clock. Keanu's shoulders were tense, his hands gripping the window frame as if holding himself together. Anna finally rose and walked to him, her steps slow, deliberate. She stood beside him, not too close, not too far. "I don't have all the answers, Keanu. I don't know how to fix pain like yours. But I do know this. You are not meant to carry it alone. Not anymore." Fourth hook. The unexpected gesture. Then she did something he didn't expect. She pulled the notebook closer, opened it to the first blank page, and handed him a pen. "Write one thing," she said. "Not everything. Just one. Something you've never said out loud. Let the page hold it if you can't." Keanu stared at her, at the notebook, at the empty page that seemed to echo with possibility. His hand trembled slightly as he took the pen. For a moment. He hesitated. Then slowly, carefully, he wrote a single word. Just one. When he was done, he closed the notebook without letting her see. His chest rose and fell with the weight of it, but his face looked lighter, as if something had shifted. Anna didn't ask what he wrote. She didn't need to. The act itself was enough. Sometimes, she said softly, healing starts with just one word. Keanu sat back down, the notebook resting against his chest, and for the first time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward. Then came the moment that neither of them expected. The lights in the apartment flickered, just for a second, but enough to pull them both out of the heaviness of the conversation. "Did you pay your bill?" Anna teased lightly, breaking the tension with a small smile. Keanu chuckled, the sound rough but real. "Yes, I did." But deep down, the flicker felt symbolic, like the universe itself reminding him, light can return even after darkness. They sat together again, the silence between them now softer, kinder. It wasn't the silence of loneliness anymore. It was the silence of understanding. Keanu looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude he couldn't put into words. "Anna, thank you, not just for coming, but for seeing me." Her smile was gentle, steady. "You don't have to thank me. Just promise me something." "What?" he asked. "That tonight won't just end here? Promise me you'll let this be the first step, not just another page left blank." Keanu pressed his hand over the notebook. He didn't know if he could make that promise, but he knew one thing. Her words had already planted something inside him, something that could grow, and as the night deepened, he realized this birthday was no longer about what he had lost. It was about what he still had, the chance to heal, the chance to change, the chance to live with meaning again. The night that opened doors, the clock ticked past midnight, and Keanu's birthday was quietly slipping into history. Yet, inside his apartment, the night felt alive in a way it hadn't in years. The gift, the notebook, and the conversation with Anna had shifted something within him. It was no longer just about surviving another birthday. It was about standing at the edge of something new. The city outside hummed with distant cars and scattered laughter from late-night wanderers. Inside, the atmosphere was intimate, fragile, like a candle that could either be extinguished by the slightest wind or glow brighter if protected. Keanu leaned back in his chair, the notebook pressed lightly against his chest. Anna sat across from him, her chin resting on her hand, studying him as if she were reading a story written on his face. "You seem lighter," she said softly. "Different from when I walked in." Keanu gave a faint smile. "Maybe because for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like I'm carrying everything alone." First hook. The surprising laughter their conversation had been heavy, layered with shadows of pain and honesty, but now came an unexpected moment of lightness. Anna suddenly laughed, a warm, genuine laugh that startled him. "What?" he asked, puzzled. "You," she said, still smiling. "You're sitting here looking like a man who just fought a battle inside his own heart, and yet you're holding a notebook like it's a shield." Keanu looked down, chuckling softly. Maybe it is. Maybe for once, the battle doesn't feel endless. Her laughter softened the room, breaking apart the heaviness. For a brief moment, they weren't two people haunted by loneliness or pain. They were just two souls finding comfort in each other's company. Second hook. The unexpected knock. But then, just as the night seemed to settle, there was another knock at the door. Keanu stiffened. At this hour, no one ever came. He exchanged a glance with Anna, who raised an eyebrow. "Are you expecting someone?" she whispered. "No," he replied, his voice cautious. He walked slowly to the door, the air in the room tightening with tension. When he opened it, there was no one standing outside. Only the dim hallway and the echo of silence. But at his feet lay a small envelope. He bent down, picked it up, and closed the door. The envelope was unmarked. No name, no return address. Just plain white. Anna leaned forward. "Are you going to open it?" Keanu hesitated. Part of him wanted to toss it aside, to pretend it was nothing. But another part, the part that always searched for meaning in small details, told him this was not a coincidence. Slowly, he tore it open. Inside was a single piece of paper with 3 handwritten words. "Don't forget tomorrow." Keanu's chest tightened. The words were simple, but they carried weight. Tomorrow? What was happening tomorrow? Who had left it? Anna frowned, her smile fading. "That's strange." Keanu folded the paper carefully, placing it on the table. His thoughts swirled. Birthdays were supposed to bring flowers, calls, gifts, but not cryptic messages slipped under doors. "Maybe it's nothing," he said, though his voice betrayed uncertainty. Anna leaned back, studying him. "Or maybe it's everything." To shake off the unease, Keanu tried to steer the conversation elsewhere. But the envelope lingered in the background, a shadow neither of them could ignore. He took a deep breath. "You know, I wasn't planning on telling anyone this, but tonight feels different. Maybe it's the honesty you brought. Maybe it's the silence we shared. But I should say it." Anna nodded gently, encouraging him. "Every year," he continued, his voice low, "I try to disappear on my birthday. I walk into places where no one recognizes me just to feel invisible. It's the only way I survive the day. But tonight, with you here, it feels like maybe I don't want to disappear anymore." The words hung in the air like fragile glass. It wasn't just a confession. It was a turning point. Anna's eyes softened, shimmering with unspoken emotion. "That's because you don't need to disappear anymore. You just needed someone to remind you you're still here." Keanu felt a lump in his throat. The simplicity of her words carried a truth he had ignored for too long. Fourth hook. The spark of music suddenly. Anna stood up, breaking the heavy mood again. She walked over to a small corner of the room where an old guitar leaned against the wall. "Do you still play?" she asked, lifting it carefully. Keanu blinked in surprise. "Sometimes, not often." She handed it to him. "Then play now. Music doesn't care about pain. It just asks you to feel." Hesitant at first, Keanu strummed a few chords. His fingers stumbled, but slowly the sound filled the room. Soft, raw, imperfect, but real. Anna closed her eyes, letting the melody wash over her. "See," she whispered, "that's not pain. That's life." And in that moment, with music flowing through his hands and silence broken by notes instead of sorrow, Keanu felt something shift again. A reminder that creation still lived within him, even when grief tried to silence it. Fifth hook. The chilling realization. But as the final chord faded, his eyes drifted back to the envelope on the table. "Don't forget tomorrow." The words echoed louder now, unsettling him. Anna noticed his gaze. "What are you thinking?" He shook his head, but the unease was clear. "I don't know why, but I feel like those words aren't just random. I feel like they're meant for me. And I don't know if that should comfort me or scare me." Anna placed her hand gently on his arm. "Then maybe tomorrow will be the day you finally understand why tonight happened." Keanu looked at her, her calm presence grounding him. But inside, the storm was already brewing. Tomorrow had been marked, and whether he was ready or not, something was coming. The weight of tomorrow, the morning light crept slowly into Keanu's apartment. Soft, but insistent. He hadn't slept much. The notebook still sat on his bedside, table, unopened, since he had written that single word. The mysterious envelope lay beside it, its 3 words circling in his mind like a quiet storm. Don't forget tomorrow. He read them again and again, as if repetition would somehow explain their meaning. But it didn't. It only deepened the unease. Keanu sat on the edge of his bed, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped together. The air felt heavier than usual. Birthdays came and went, but never like this. Never with a message that carried both mystery and warning. He rose and moved into the kitchen where the smell of coffee grounds still lingered from the night before. He poured himself another cup, the routine steadying him, even as his thoughts raced. Anna was still asleep on the couch. After their long night of conversation and music, she had drifted off quietly, her head resting on a cushion. Her presence filled the room with a rare comfort, like a guardian against the loneliness that usually claimed him. But now, as he sipped his coffee, Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that today was no ordinary day. First hook, the quiet awakening Anna stirred, stretching gently as the sunlight touched her face. She sat up, brushing her hair back and blinking at him. "You didn't sleep," she said softly. It wasn't a question, it was an observation. "No," Keanu admitted. He handed her the envelope, the paper folded neatly. "This is why." She read it again, frowning. "Don't forget tomorrow. But today is tomorrow, isn't it?" "Exactly," Keanu replied. "Whoever left this, they meant today. Something is supposed to happen." Anna placed the note on the table, her fingers lingering on it. "Maybe it's nothing, or maybe it's everything. But either way, you can't run from it. Not this time." Her words carried weight. Running had always been his instinct, disappearing into silence, into solitude. But something told him this message wouldn't allow that. Second hook. The stranger in the cafe later that morning, Keanu and Anna decided to step outside. The city greeted them with its usual mix of chaos and calm. People hurried to work. Cars honked impatiently. Life moved forward with little concern for mystery or fear. They stopped at a small cafe tucked away from the main street. Keanu chose it deliberately. It was quiet, a place where he had often gone unnoticed. They sat near the window, sipping coffee. Anna's presence kept the weight in his chest from crushing him, but he still felt the message burning in his pocket. Then, he noticed something. A man, seated 2 tables away, watching him. Not in a casual way, not like someone recognizing a familiar face, but intently, purposefully. The man wore a dark coat, his posture stiff. He didn't look away when Keanu's eyes met his. Instead, he nodded slightly, as if acknowledging something only the 2 of them knew. Keanu's heart skipped. Was this connected to the note? Anna leaned in, her voice low. "That man. He's watching you." Keanu didn't reply. He didn't need to. They both knew. Third hook. The message within the message, the man stood up, walked past their table, and without a word, slipped something onto the edge of Keanu's saucer. Then he left the cafe without looking back. Anna reached for it, a small folded slip of paper. Keanu unfolded it slowly, his breath caught. Inside, another message. The past never stays silent. Keanu felt the ground shift beneath him. The past. The very thing he had tried so hard to bury. The very thing Anna had urged him to face last night. Now it was chasing him, demanding his attention. "What does it mean?" Anna asked, her eyes searching his. Keanu shook his head, his hands trembling slightly. "It means someone knows." Someone knows the things I've carried, and they don't want me to hide anymore. Fourth hook, the breaking flood. The weight of the words opened. A door he had tried to keep locked. Memories flooded in, faces, voices, moments he had never spoken of. The laughter of people long gone, the ache of losses that shaped him, the endless nights of silence. He gripped the table, his jaw tight. Why now? Why on my birthday? Why bring all of this back? Anna reached across, her hand steadying his. Because maybe you're strong enough now. Maybe this is the moment you were meant to face it. Her words were kind, but the fear inside him grew. What if facing it only broke him more? What if the silence had been the only thing keeping him alive? As they left the cafe, Keanu spotted the man again, standing across the street, watching. But this time, he wasn't alone. A woman stood beside him, her face partly hidden by a scarf. She didn't look at Keanu directly, but her posture was tense, as if she were waiting. Anna gripped his arm. We're not imagining this. They're following us. Keanu's mind raced. He wasn't used to paranoia, but this was too deliberate to ignore. 2 notes, 2 strangers, and now eyes following him through the city. Who are they? Anna whispered. Keanu shook his head. I don't know, but I think they're here because of my past. 6th hook, the decision that changes everything back at his apartment. Keanu placed both notes on the table. Their simple words carried more weight than entire books. Don't forget tomorrow. The past never stays silent. Anna sat beside him, waiting for his choice. He could run, disappear into the shadows, like he had always done. Let the silence swallow him again. Or he could stay. Face whatever this was, risk breaking open wounds that had never fully healed. His fingers brushed the leather notebook. 1 word written, inside thousands still unspoken, Anna whispered. Whatever you decide, you won't face it alone. And for the first time, Keanu realized. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the people who stood beside him, the ones who reminded him he was still alive. He took a deep breath. Then we face it. And with those words, the course of his life shifted. Tomorrow had come, and it was only the beginning. The sun dipped low, painting the city in shades of gold and red. Keanu sat by the window, the 2 notes spread before him, the leather notebook open but blank except for that single word he had written days earlier. Anna sat across from him, silent, but steady, her presence grounding him. Don't forget tomorrow. The past never stays silent. The weight of the words pressed on him. He had chosen to face them, but now the moment had come, and the question loomed. What exactly was he facing? 1st hook. The unexpected meeting, a knock at the door, broke the stillness. Keanu's chest tightened. Anna gave him a nod, her eyes, telling him she would stand with him. He opened the door. The man from the cafe stood there, coat draped over his arm. Beside him, the woman with the scarf. Up close, her face was clearer now, older, lined with sorrow, but her eyes sharp, almost familiar. May we come in? The man asked. His voice was calm, respectful. Keanu hesitated, then stepped aside. They entered quietly, as if the air inside already knew them. The woman pulled off her scarf. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Keanu, you don't remember me, but I remember you. Keanu's breath caught. She wasn't a stranger after all. 2nd hook. The buried memory her name was Elena. Decades ago, before his fame. Before the world knew his name. She had been a neighbor in the same small building where he once lived. She reminded him of nights when laughter echoed in hallways, when lives were simpler but no less fragile. And then her voice cracked. I was there, the night you lost her. I saw you walking alone after the world broke you. The room froze. Anna's hand reached for his, steadying him. Keanu's heart pounded, the memory clawing at him like a wound reopening. Elena's eyes filled with tears. You never knew, but I left flowers on your doorstep every year after that. I didn't sign my name. I just couldn't watch you carry it all alone. Third hook. The purpose of the notes, the man stepped forward. We sent the notes, he admitted, because we knew you would understand only if you faced it directly. You've built walls around your grief, Keanu. Strong walls, but walls can become prisons. Keanu clenched his fists, torn between anger and gratitude. Why now? Why after all these years? Elena's answer was simple, soft. Because pain shared is pain halved. And because you are not the man the world thinks you are. You are stronger, but also more fragile. And it's time you knew you are not alone in that. Fourth hook. The breaking silence, Keanu sat heavily, the weight of the past pressing down, but no longer crushing. Anna placed the notebook before him. Write, she whispered. Don't hide anymore. His hand shook as he picked up the pen. For years he had avoided putting words to his grief, afraid they would drown him. But now, with Anna beside him, with Elena's truth before him, he wrote, first one word, then another, then a sentence. Tears blurred his vision, but he didn't stop. He wrote of love lost, of pain endured, of nights where silence was the only companion. He wrote of resilience, of kindness that carried him, of strangers who left flowers and friends who refused to let him disappear. When he finally stopped, the page was no longer empty. It was alive. And so was he. Fifth hook. The gift of tomorrow. Keanu closed the notebook, his chest heaving. He looked at Elena, at the man, at Anna. All this time, I thought birthdays were reminders of what I'd lost. But maybe they're reminders of what I still have. Anna smiled, her eyes shimmering. Exactly. Tomorrow doesn't have to be a threat. It can be a gift. The words struck deep. Tomorrow, the thing he had feared, the message that had haunted him, was not a warning. It was an invitation. A chance to step into the future not as a man trapped by the past, but as someone free to live again. Sixth hook. The quiet resolution the strangers left quietly, leaving behind only their truth. The apartment felt different now, lighter, open. Anna poured them both tea and they sat in silence. But this silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. Keanu opened the notebook once more and wrote a final line at the bottom of the page. I am still here. He set the pen down, his hands steady. The past had not left him, but it no longer owned him. Anna looked at him with warmth, her voice barely above a whisper. Happy birthday, Keanu. Not the day you were born, but the day you began again. Keanu's smile was faint but real, his eyes reflecting gratitude. For the first time in years, he wasn't lost in thought. He was present, and that was the greatest gift of all.